So let's start there because there has been some all throughout this for the last 2 years. The name Shane Wright was expected to be the number one pick, and then Chris Peters. It started really. I think Chris Peters was one of the first that put Logan Cooley as number one on his draft board. And then the Bob father, Bob McKenzie, put Juraj Slafkovsky as number one. Let's start with the simple. I'm going to just make this a simple question here. Is there any chance that Shane Wright does not go number one?
Yes, I wouldn't say it's as high of a chance as it might have been made out to be over the last little bit. I think I'd give Shane Wright probably 80 to 20 odds of going first overall if I were just to give my gut feeling. I mean, there's no harm in what Montreal is doing, playing it safe. Obviously, they don't want to say anything. They got to keep a little bit of a surprise for their fans. And I'm sure they've watched just endless amounts of tape of Slafkovsky and Cooley and probably even Simon Nemec and David Juraj just to be safe. But for my money and for most scouts' money, Shane Wright's still the guy. There's nothing to say. Let's not say anything bad about Slafkovsky or Cooley. They're both very, very good players, and they genuinely did close the gap quite a lot this season. But there's just something about Wright as a star player that you can kind of bank on. Maybe he's not going to be the highest point producer. Maybe he's not going to be a guy who shows up a lot in highlights, but he's just so effective at what he does. He's such a difference maker. There's almost like a safety to him that I don't know you get out of Slafkovsky. Slafkovsky is the exciting pick. He's bigger, he's faster than Wright. He can do things at high speeds that Wright can't. So there's certainly something to be said about the appeal there. But if we're looking at this draft and where that Montreal Canadiens are and what they need, I think Wright is the pick that makes the most sense. There goes my dog, sorry. Amazon. Montreal is a tough place to play. It's a really diehard fan base, a really aggressive media. There's a bright spotlight in that city. And I think to a certain degree, with a pick this high, you need a guy who you can trust to handle that. And Shane Wright has that. He's been a top player in his age group forever. He was the exceptional pick, got to play in the OHL early. He was the projected first rounder. He starred for Team Canada as an underage player. This guy doesn't, he doesn't get fazed by pressure or spotlights. He's able to do a lot of work when all eyes are on him. And I think that is something that will probably play into the picture for the Canadiens. But even just in a team building standpoint, it certainly doesn't hurt. They've got good young players with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, but they don't have someone quite like Wright. He just brings a different kind of element. So does Slafkovsky, but generally nowadays teams are built through the middle first and foremost. So if you have Nick Suzuki as one of your top two centers and Shane Wright as your other top two center, I think that's a great place to kind of build a foundation for a team, more so than adding a left winger like Slafkovsky.